Hey everyone, all I can say is I told you so. This is my real-time purple and violet mixes video and it's almost 15 minutes long. So I don't know, I guess we'll just have to see how this video does and what can I tell you? It takes time to do all these mixes. So there it is. I did speed up the first part, which I didn't talk through it, but at some point in about the 8 minutes, something like this, it does go to real time. So let's first start with which violets and purples I actually have in my palette. The first one, I'll soon write the names of everything so you can see it on screen, but starting from left to right, we have Mgram's Ultramarine Pink. Then we have Rembrandt's Cobalt Violet. Then we have Daniel Smith Wisteria. That super intense color is Schmincke's Brilliant Red Violet. Then we have Sennelier Violet Blue, I think it's called. And closing our team of purples, Daniel Smith Imperial Purple. This is what I have in my palette. The most used one, hands down, is my Cobalt Violet, followed by Ultramarine Pink, which you can see is quite similar. It's just a slightly more muted color. I think it has a bit more body to it. Sometimes I'm sorry about the lighting, the weather today was crazy. It went from shiny, sunny to storm, like dark clouds and stormy weather. Anyway, so I do apologize about that. But you can see also on the screen that the Ultramarine Pink, it's just a little bit more intense. I think it's also a little bit more opaque than the Cobalt Violet. It's just a little bit more muted. It's a beautiful color. I use them both. And if you really like this particular tone, which I assume if you've watched this channel before, you know I'm kind of obsessed with, I do see a place for both of these colors in my palette, but if I had to choose just one out of these 6, it would be the Cobalt Violet, hands down, no doubt about it. And then if I had to pick 2, I would probably pick the Sennelier Violet Blue. Daniel Smith also has a similar color to it, and I think many brands do. It's just a lovely kind of blue-violet granulating color. In case you're interested in the pigments, the Mgram's Ultramarine Pink is PR259, Rembrandt's Cobalt Violet is PV14, Wisteria by Daniel Smith is PW6, which is a white, and PR122, Schmincke's Brilliant Red Violet is PV1, Sennelier's Violet Blue is PV15, and Daniel Smith Imperial Purple, the last one, is Ultramarine Blue, PB29 and PV19. Now, the colors I chose to mix these purples with are my go-to, like my 3 yellows. We have from the top Naples Yellow. I think I have the Schmincke one in my palette now. The second one is also Schmincke Turner's Yellow, which is lovely. Then we have the Nicolazo Yellow. You'll see that one's it's going to cause me a lot of trouble. Then we have the Daniel Smith Buff Titanium, Daniel Smith Lunar Earth. I decided to go with Opera Pink for a representative of my pinks, just because with my other pinks, it's kind of boring. It's just you get more, violet pinks. That's what you get. And then for blue, I went with Ultramarine Blue. Again, the mixtures there, in my opinion, are kind of boring and predictable. Next, I decided to go with Cobalt Teal or Cobalt Turquoise. It really depends on the brand, but you know, that really vibrant, beautiful color. And the 2 greens that I went for are just really interesting. in my opinion. Both Daniel Smith, we have on the top Serpentine green, which I really like. I also have the Green Appetite from the Jean Haynes set, and those two are kind of similar, but I really prefer the Serpentine green. And then the one on the bottom is a beautiful color that I really need to use more, and really kind of shone from shine, shown in this video, and that is Undersea green. So those are the colors I decided to go with. And the first row is, I'm also narrating it, but you can still see the whole process. So hopefully that's okay with you, but soon I'll start narrating through the whole thing as I'm doing this. So you can see the mixes with the yellows are quite interesting. You get these really lovely peachy, muted, violet, pinky colors. They're kind of similar in the first three colors. You know, these three violets, they do have small differences, which I noticed because this is like the color of my obsession. but you can absolutely have one of these in your palette, and you know, you'll get very similar mixes. My choice again would be Cobalt Violet, but they're all three of them are really, really pretty. So next we have the Opera Pink, and it just gives you that a little bit more intense violet pinky color. And then the mix with Ultramarine Blue is this kind of muted purple, which again, it's pretty similar across those first three shades. Ooh, that was nice. The way the ultramarine pink kind of pushed the color. So all in all, what can I tell you? I just want to, you'll see the mixes for yourself, and there's going to be a lot of talking, but I think the M. Graham's ultramarine pink is really a beautiful color for florals. If you do a lot of like botanical illustrations and, you know, a lot of flowers, I think you might enjoy it. You know, do you absolutely need it if you have a cobalt violet that is so similar in tone like mine? Probably not, but it does have a bit more, I don't know, just a bit more body to it. It's as I said, it's just a little bit more opaque and slightly more muted. And that is the first row of mixes. Let's get on with the real time. Okay, the weather today is insane. We'll see what happens. So these are almost dry, the ultramarine pink mixtures. Let's move on to the cobalt, my precious cobalt. My favorite cobalt violet is the Winsor & Newton formula. However, because it is not vegan, I don't know what it contains actually, but because it's not vegan, I searched for a vegan alternative. First I tried the core one, which I still have in my palette. I need to remove it. I don't like it. The formula is just, yeah, it's, in my personal opinion, based on this one tube that I have, it's just not great. It's kind of anemic. It's full of, I don't know, filler, binder, whatever you want to call it, but yeah, it's just not great. So mixing my favorite mixes, I have a whole video dedicated to my favorite mixes, and Cobalt, Violet, and Naples Yellow are in that video because I just love the colors that you get. These are both, well, actually the Cobalt Violet is pretty transparent, but the Naples Yellow is a very kind of muddy color, and they just create the most pretty pinky, peachy colors. It really depends on the dosage, but I love this combo, and it's one of those things that I had to figure out to find it myself because I haven't seen a lot of people mix those two. So let's look at the Turner Yellow mixture, which Turner yellow, you can see, is just a bit more of a vibrant yellow, but it still has that kind of buttery look to it, I feel. It is a semi-opaque color, I want to say. And I think the mixtures are pretty similar to the Naples yellow, only a little bit more vibrant. And with the nickel azo yellow, this is such a pushy color. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, again, you get these like murky, peachy, pinky colors. Beautiful. Battery ran out. I love using yellow and violet in my paintings. I pretty much use them in every single painting, probably. Okay, so let's look now at the buff titanium. Again, this is a mixture that I really enjoy. It kind of muddies the color. Wait, where was I? It also muddies. Is that a grammatically correct verb? So you can see just what it does, and I love that. My problem is we'll see the mixtures with the Wisteria, but if memory serves, because Wisteria also has white in it, when you mix it with these already kind of opaque colors, it just gets a bit too muddy, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised. Let's move on to Lunar Earth, which is my representation of earth colors in this mix. Again, I chose it because it's probably one of the more like yellowish earth tones that I have, and I do love mixing complementary colors. I just think those make for the most interesting mixture. So this is a beautiful combination because you have here the granulation from both colors, and it's just beautiful. These make me all kinds of happy. Now with pink, for me, like the pink and the blue are the least interesting mixes because, you know, violet and purple is between pink and blue, so I can kind of guess what I'm going to get. It's nothing too exciting. I think it's always more fun to mix colors that are far away from each other on the color wheel. I did pick Opera. This is the Daniel Smith one, Opera Pink, just to see if we can kind of amp up these purples and violets, but you know, you're just gonna get different shades of pink and violet, so nothing too surprising. But I did choose representation for these colors, so you won't say I'm not being thorough. Although I'm not being thorough, I can't be bothered to like do all kinds of mixing charts and stuff. I never look at them, and I just want to paint and have fun and play with color. So for me, it works to see what I get as I paint. Okay, with ultramarine blue, you can see that we get these kind of purples. I'm not a big fan of these purples. Don't really do anything for me. Usually when I paint, if I include ultramarine blue and these colors, usually they won't be next to each other. I want to say I might use ultramarine to kind of darken the colors, so maybe get a pretty shade of purple that I like and use that more as a shadow color. But yeah, I really like this. Makes me so much more happier than this. Okay, moving on to Cobalt Teal. Well, actually, this is the Lukas, I think they call it Cobalt Turquoise, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful teal color. And again, these are not colors that I particularly enjoy seeing together. You can see that we get these very, very murky violets. The granulation is nice because both colors have that, but it's just meh, you know? What is a lot more interesting are the mixes with the green, And I picked two interesting greens. This one is, I want to say this is the Serpentine, maybe. I'm not sure, forgive me, but it's one of those, you know, interesting separating, granulating Daniel Smith colors. And I really love that. This one is very yellow, so it makes these lovely earthy oranges. I don't know, like really, really pretty, muted, unexpected colors. And then you have the granulation of both colors, which makes it even more interesting. And then this one is Undersea green. And if I had more room, I would also probably include the Cascade green, which has a turquoise kind of separation to it. But I think this one is more interesting and appealing. So Undersea green, you can see it's kind of this earthy, mossy green that has a beautiful separation and granulation. And those are always the most fun to play with, for me anyway. So you get these really pretty neutral colors that are just so unique. I mean, look at that. That is such a beautiful color. And it has the granulation of the Cobalt Violet. I love that. So Undersea green, and I want to say Serpentine. I don't know. It's a mystery. See, that's why I don't do these things live. Which one is this? Yeah, this is the Serpentine. Okay, so let's move on to Wisteria. I think Wisteria is a pretty color. This is a relatively new color for Daniel Smith. They released it, I think, in 2017. And it's basically PR 122 and white. And I just find that I kind of like it on its own, but in mixes, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. But I am quite fickle, quite a fickle creature, so maybe I'll change my mind. This is pretty, but honestly, everything I mixed with maple yellow is pretty. So this is Turner's yellow from Schmincke. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. I'll try to list it also. This is really pretty. So these are just the colors that make me so happy. It's just like these peachy colors. They're so pretty, and they're hard to find. That's why I really like these mixtures, and I keep talking about them because you won't find something that looks like this out of the tube. Maybe you could find, you know, a color like, I don't know, shell pink or something like that, or the Schmincke Brilliant. I don't know how that thing is called. But this one, like these ones, you know, they might look similar like the mixture, but you'll never get that beautiful separation that you get when you don't really mix these. Like, I mean, look at that. So even if you had one of the shades in a tube, it just never has that special effect of like half mixing your colors. So this is, oh, actually not super pushy. The Nicolazo yellow is usually a pushy color. It is pushing its way. And let's see. Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, I like these, but I feel that these are kind of more interesting. So that's usually when I start mixing colors, I go with the Cobalt Violet. But I also use Wisteria occasionally. Okay. This is Buff Titanium. And this will get muddy. So very, very muddy colors, which honestly I love these days. I think sometimes they really make, I don't know, they really make a painting look interesting and layered. And can we take a look at this? This is, if I showed you this, I think maybe you could guess that it was Cobalt Violet if you know the granulation of this color, but I doubt you would say Cascade Undersea Green. And that's the magic of watercolors, people. Mic drop. Okie dokie. I don't know when I'll have internet. Right now the internet is not working, so I'm filming in hopes that we'll get internet at some point. Okay, Lunar Earth. Beautiful granulating color. And this is actually an interesting mix, which I'm liking. So you can see we get this really pretty, I don't know, like pink, like a muted pink, I would say. Really lovely. Again, when I look at it next to the Cobalt Violet, I feel this is more alive. But if I wanted a more opaque version, then I would definitely use Wisteria. So that's good to know, even though I could have made, you know, an educated guess, since I know Wisteria is more opaque. So let's see. Ooh, it likes to push the opera pink around. So yeah, this is nice. It's kind of that bubblegum Barbie pink. Actually pretty cool. It's good to know because it is a color that I actually like, and it's not always easy to find that exact shade. So interesting. See, we learned something. Okay, so ultramarine blue. I think we're gonna get purple. Whee! Okay, I kind of get why you wanted to see this live. I mean, I think it's worth hearing all my rambling and seeing just how they behave. So I do agree that there is definitely an added value of watching this. I have so much color on my brush here. Then I'm gonna add more, why not? Okay, Cobalt, Turquoise or teal, and Wisteria. I don't think I will like this. You'll get this blue that I'm just, I don't know. You know, sometimes it really depends on the like context or what other colors are around it. So here on this, I think it's beautiful. It's like this almost periwinkle kind of lavender blue. So I think it is an interesting mix, but this, like seeing these three colors together, the Wisteria and then the middle, like the mixture and then the teal, ugh. That's my professional opinion. Okay, Serpentine green. What are we going to get? Something muddy. Very, very muddy. Let's see. Who's gonna push who? So these are really kind of neutralize each other. And what we get is really a color. I love these colors. This is really the kind of color, if I showed you this, I don't think anyone could tell me that this was, you know, Cobalt Violet and Serpentine green. It's just, and I love these. I love these, and that's the kind of colors that I have been using a lot in my paintings. Mixing, introducing new colors, like let's say I would start a flower with the cobalt and then slowly introducing colors, but in these kind of mixes. Lovely. So Undersea green, the last one. And this one I would actually say that I find this very appealing also when I compare it to the Cobalt Violet. It has a more delicate effect. This one is also super interesting. So this is really, really nice to know actually that we get these gorgeous neutral colors from Wisteria and greens. Okay, let's move on now to intense stuff. So this is the Schmincke Brilliant Red Violet. It was kind of a last addition to my palette. I don't even know if it's in my setting up my summer palette video. I don't think it is. I thought since it's summer and, you know, it was time for intense colors, maybe I should include it in there. This is a color that I kind of was wowed by it when I started to paint with watercolors, because it was so intense, and I painted a lot more with brighter colors. But I have kind of fallen out of love with it. It's just because it's so intense. However, let's see what it does in mixtures. Sometimes I will add just a little bit of it to one of the more muted violets to give it just like that little punch of brightness. But rarely will you see me using it, you know, straight out of the tube. It is super intense. It's not light fast, which I don't care, but just adding a little bit of it because it's so intense, and then we can start mixing it. So I think this actually would be a really interesting color in mixes, especially with kind of more light muted colors, because you would get also such a big range of mixes. Let's see, I try to keep just a bunch of scraps. So you can see how with a little bit of Naples yellow, you can really tone it down. It's so dark outside. Hopefully you can see what's going on here and the glare is not too annoying. But look at this. I mean, this is really pretty. And again, so it's, you know, that's why I like these videos, because even when I'm dealing with colors that are very familiar to me, there's no way that you can, you know, really know, especially when you love working with so many colors like I do, it's very hard to like remember and keep in your head every single mix. And then there are so many different colors, right, that you could get. I mean, from this direction to this one, there's just like 10 different shades. So this is with Turner's yellow. These are really the kind of mixtures that, oopsie daisy. Thank you for that, Nicolazo yellow. Well, these together are quite a punchy mix. If you like very intense colors with a really strong contrast, something like Nicolazo yellow and then this extreme red violet is, you know, it's intense. But the mixtures are just, especially if you go with a light hand, you can see it's like a very watery wash or mix. They're so interesting, and you can even get like these beautiful, more earthy, muted colors, even with such an intense color. So I can't, oopsie, I didn't clean my brush. I can't, you know, fault this that much, because it will sometimes give you something that is hard to get with other colors. This is beautiful, okay? This is actually really interesting. And, you know, I will have these sheets for reference, so I can use them if I want to in the future. Cut them to strips or leave them like this. Okay, let's see how we get with a more intense application. So this is with Lunar Earth. This is lovely. So we have here the red violet, and then the Lunar Earth really tones it down and adds this gorgeous granulation. How can anyone not be in love with watercolors, right? They are the best. So, this is so intense. I'm messing up the order. Oh no. Such a rebel. Okay, so Opera Pink. So not surprisingly, we're going to get very intense violet colors, and you can see this is quite similar actually to Cobalt Violet in the tone. We won't have the same granulation, and Cobalt Violet is light fast, and this combo is definitely not light fast. But if you're, if you have some of these colors and you want that kind of violet tone, then try mixing them and see what happens. Okay, now with Ultramarine Blue, I think this will also be kind of a pretty combo. I'm not so huge on these kind of purples, but it is quite an intense color. And again, sometimes it's really about seeing the color next to other colors that make it a lot more appealing than when I see it next to the two original colors it came from. So what's happening here with the teal? Yeah, again, it's not, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of these colors next to each other. The mixtures might be interesting, but usually I would, just play around, mix them in my palette and see what happens. Serpentine green. This will probably be interesting because it's more of a yellow green. So super intense. Let's pile on the green and see what happens. So when you mix them, we get these kind of murky colors, which I actually like. I'm okay with that. And last but not least, Undersea green. Yesterday it was so hot, and today it's just, there are buckets of water pouring down. Okay, this is pretty. So with Undersea green, sorry, we get really interesting muted colors. Very pretty. Let's move on to the Sennelier Violet blue. Daniel Smith has a similar color. I think it's called Cobalt Blue Violet Hue, maybe. It's really, really pretty, and it's kind of, it's okay. I like it. That's why I added it. I think it was also more of a late addition to this palette. And I like this color. I think it's pretty for florals. And look at that beautiful mix with Naples yellow. I love that. So pretty. It almost gives a color like the buff titanium here, I feel. Because they are quite complementary, like these particular two. Here you can see these don't neutralize each other, but you get more of these like peachy warm colors. But these really do neutralize each other. So let's see what happens with the brighter yellows. Ooh, so pretty. Gotta love Nicolazo yellow for its pushy behavior, but it seems like this color is a bit of, kind of color that gets pushed around. So these are lovely to play with, these mixes, because the colors really, really neutralize each other, and it's very hard to say what you started with. So you can get lovely grays and lovely, you can see these murky yellows almost. Super pretty. Let's help it spread around a little bit. And it is a granulating color, this purple, which adds to the whole interesting look of it. And let's take buff titanium. That yellow is so pushy. Yeah, so it even tones it more down, and you get these really super muted purplish tones. Very pretty. Lunar Earth. What are we going to get? Let's see. Yeah, it's such a pushover, this color. Beautiful colors. It really grays it out, like the blue, the violet blue really neutralizes that warmth in Lunar Earth, and we can get beautiful colors with a lot of granulation. I mean, I think that's the point of these lunar colors, that drama, which I love. What I want to do is just remove this a bit because I feel we can't really see the colors. It's just so intense. So this is just beautiful. It's such a delicate, beautiful mix. Really lovely. Moving on to Opera Pink. Yeah, this is not so exciting. I'm looking forward to the greens already. Yeah, so you get these more like stronger kind of violets. Yeah. More purpley violets, and let's see what we get here. Again, sometimes the mixtures are interesting, but these just are not colors that I enjoy seeing together. But that's just me, you know. Maybe you're watching this and you're like, oh, that's so pretty. So I'm glad I could help. Serpentine green. Ooh, interesting. Let's see. Very interesting. So it's a really kind of muted color, and then I guess we'll see. I'll just dab it a little bit. The granulation is really interesting on this one. I'll add a bit more. And Undersea green. Oh, always so smooshed, so neglected. But it's been one of the big discoveries of this video, I think, that Undersea green and violets are really interesting. And I think actually the most interesting is the combination with Wisteria. I really like that. It's such, yeah, just like these really interesting colors that you look at it and you're like wondering, like, you know, what happened there? Okay, last but not least is Imperial purple. This is probably the least used purple in my palette because, I don't know, it's just not my kind of color. I got it when I wanted to review the Jean Haines set. I had most of the colors, but I wanted to have all of them so I could do the video, and this one I didn't have. So that's why I got it. Probably wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. It's Ultramarine blue and PV19, which is, I think, quinacridone red. Yeah, fun combo with the Naples yellow. I'm not surprised. It's a pretty color. There's nothing to say. It is interesting because it has, mostly because it has the ultramarine blue in it. So you get that granulation. But yeah, I don't use it a lot. And you can see the mixtures are similar to this in their tone, but this is much more granulating, and I just think it's a bit more interesting. However, you know, you might have a color like this, so you should try mixing it with some yellows. Always fun stuff. Buff titanium, let's see what we'll get. I think this will be a pretty combo. interesting. Everything is flowing. That that yellow, that nickel azo yellow really needs to be in an area of its own. So yeah, this is pretty. I like these combos. I really like, I mean, these are like my favorites mixes. Like the yellows and those, you know, buff titanium and lunar earth with the purples. I think they're just the most fun, the most interesting, and you can get such a large variation. It's not just, you know, this kind of violet or that kind of violet. You really get those interesting neutrals and semi-neutrals. Lovely. So opera pink and ultramarine blue. So this color also already has in it ultramarine blue. So we're just going to get those, you know, in between shades, which I'm not, you know, they're okay. It's just, they're not so interesting. This is okay, the mix. What can I say? I can't fake it. It's just not my cup of tea. With the teal, again, we get these super kind of murky, bluish colors. Kind of nice when you pair them with other colors, you know. I really like, you can see them kind of as a standalone color when you introduce it to a more of a warm palette. So for florals, I do use this combo a lot, where my blooms are mostly in these warm colors, and then I add around the edges kind of more shadow colors like this. But yeah, as I said, I don't like seeing all of the colors like this together. So serpentine green. Let's see. Where was I? Where was I? Soon coming to an end. And I'll show you a close-up of everything. This is nice. It's an interesting combo. I think mostly my takeaway from this, I mean, with the violet, the cobalt violet, I'm pretty familiar with this color because I use it on pretty much every painting. But I think my kind of takeaway message here is I'm going to remind myself to play a bit more with Wisteria and the green tones. The cobalt and ultramarine pink, I paint so much with these colors. I kind of know what they do. This, I think, is, I want to say exquisite. Is that too much of a word for watercolors? I mean, look at that. Sorry about the glare. It's so dark outside. I'm trying to give you good lighting. So you can see the mixtures of the lunar earth. This one is really interesting, I have to say. And then also, I do mix a lot of yellows and purples, but this was a good reminder that you just get the most lovely neutral grays when you mix these two. And I love that because a lot of the grays that you get from a tube, first of all, they don't have anywhere near this interesting kind of separation and granulation. But they're also many times so dark, and then when you lighten them, they kind of lose, I don't know, they just look blah. And these are so interesting. I wouldn't even call them like so alive or anything, but they're just such interesting colors. And yeah, the granulation is incredible. Look at that. All of the, you know, blue and pink mixtures, I know them. I do use them sometimes, mostly like for variations, because I think it's more interesting when, you know, for example, if I'm using pink and violet in the same painting, I do like to mix them so I can get that interesting variation. But it's never a big surprise. And I think these are, you know, the surprises, like these kind of colors. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon in another video. Bye.